Hi, it's 1 week when we came back from the Leaders in Logistics summit from Brussels. And today we are wrapping it up together with Christian Oestergaard from PostNord. Hi, Christian. How are you doing?
Hi, Andrea. I'm doing very well. Winter is past us, so now we can look to the spring. And yeah, I'm doing really good.
It's a great session right now with you because actually we had totally different experiences in Brussels. You were taking the time to listen all the presentations, and I was mainly networking outside the main hall. So we could have together two of us a complete picture what happened in the. What are your overall impressions? The industry is what how was the event?
I think the event was really good. I have to say that. I think that I'm always asking the vendors because they're the ones who pay for it, more or less, how they were doing and how satisfied they were. They were really satisfied. They had met the right people. They had met a lot of decision takers, and all of them were really positive. And so that is one thing that needs to work in an event. And I thought there was quite a lot of people. It was quite intense. It's also where you were spending most of your time in the networking group. I think that there was so many right people that you could talk to. It could take me an hour to go from one end to another, and I think the industry was there. I think the conference program was quite good. And as you say, this time I concentrated on the conference program because last time I was mostly talking to people all the time. So I wanted to see that aspect of it as well. And as you know, I'm looking for the nuances. Most of the industry, you and I, we follow it quite intense. But I was looking for these small things that might have an impact on how we're going to look at the future. So I thought I got those as well. I think I got little small nuances, and I think that this time, just to give you in our industry here with the out of home discussion that we had always, I think this time it was a clear, outspoken thing that you need to have out of home. There's no discussion anymore, and even in the German market, which we always discuss about what's going to happen in the German market, you had two CEOs stepping up and saying very clearly that we need to have out of home, and this is the only way that we can make an efficient organization in the future. So I think that from that point also was nice to have that clarity that we are moving in the right direction with the things we are doing, but can't give up the things that are there in the past. They also need to be taken care of.
I absolutely agree with you, but I think that this was not actually the conference. For me, there was one thing that happened this year that legitimized out of home delivery, and this was the FedEx InPost deal, or the announcement that they are willing to make the deal, because this is not finalized yet.
Mhm.
But for me, it was a turning point. For the last years, I've been feeling a little bit like a weirdo, talking about out of home always, and then the real people, or the networks and carriers, are sort of addressing this one as a sort of side hustle, or something interesting, but nothing serious. But now I feel that after this announcement that the biggest delivery company in the world is buying stake in InPost that is only out of home, actually sort of sealed the theory that out of home is going to be big. And I feel it from the industry. Felt it also from the stages that people were rushing to hear GLS and DPD and DHL experience in out of home.
Mm. But it's you also have to look at the FedEx needs. Huh? They need the knowledge about InPost has the knowledge on how to run a network which is solely built in this way, and it's been a hunt from both FedEx and UPS over the last many years to get into the C2C and the B2C markets are challenging when you come from a background which is more of a B2B and an express background. So it's a movement that we've seen quite long, but I think that, as you rightly say, it's now it is stepped in, and it's not that I was not so hyped about it because I think that this was something was going to happen, but I think what happened in the market was, as you said. the market really, took it as a stamp and say, okay, fine, this is the way we go. But because I even felt it last year when we had the leaders in logistics that we already there started to get some signals from the big players in Germany that we needed to go that way, and we needed to do it in jointly also, which is also quite an extreme story to tell when you think about two competitors which have been really hard against each other now find out that the only way that they can attack a market is actually to do it by themselves, because it's an infrastructure. It's not a product, it's an infrastructure.
I think you mentioned in the beginning very important thing. I'm coming back to that FedEx and InPost deal, and I'm also in the camp that from the FedEx point of view, they were not looking the European network and coverage. They were looking mainly for the know-how of out of home, and I think the biggest result of that is going to be exposed actually in US. I think that they are using this InPost know-how, whether with InPost brand or their own brand in US. And if this happens, this is going to be the biggest parcel locker networks development project in the world, probably even bigger than China.
Yeah, but this has been our discussion many times. Like we say, when do we see the activation of US? And I think that it's a cumbersome job because it's very investment heavy, and of course also you need to transform your organization from what you have today. So I think it's a long hard drive that they have in front of them. But I think that you're right. I think that this is a strategic decision. It's about knowledge. It's about getting, to understand what the future will run. And I think that you're absolutely right that we will see a start of it. But I think that it's something that's going to take some years.
Absolutely, but I have to reveal now here also that in Brussels I made a bet with Mike Richmond that after 5 years there are going to be 50,000 lockers in US from that cooperation, FedEx and InPost, and let's see, in 5 years we'll see.
I think 50,000 is a lot when you look at it, when you see how much the networks have been growing in Europe. But it depends on the organization you have back behind. It's feasible. It's not that it's not feasible. There's a question about getting some locations and stuff like that. That is the hardest work. I think that to get the production to be there, to have the system that controls it, to build up the network that feeds it. I think that is feasible. I think it's about getting the right locations and getting the Americans to understand that this is a different type of product, which I'm sure they will embrace. When you look at all these porch thefts and stuff like that they have, and if you can make it connected to a car solution, like we've seen these ideas from Saudi Arabia or whatever, then you actually have a possibility to actually transform and change. It's just you need to understand the DNA on your own market and try to figure out how you build something that is convenient, because we're talking about convenience all the time.
Because again, we have the whole world has the script for that. 3 years ago, UK market was very home delivery oriented, and look at what's happening right now. The Germany is still quite locker empty, but as you said, also we feel that there is some changes are already coming. There is no changes in US, but again, if one of the big four starts actively deploying lockers, then it's going to be.
Yeah, but it's. I'm sure that we will see things. We will see things coming, and I think that 50,000 is a good bet. 5 years is also far away. I hope it was worth it. The bet. I don't know what you bet, but it will
You
be
bottles
exciting.
of good wine, so I hope I
Okay.
can import it.
Yeah. Okay. We have 5 years to work on it.
Yeah, definitely. But coming back to the conference, the other topics, I see. I think we have sometimes a little bit different opinions about the talks about AI, because my personal feeling was that last year there was more talking about AI than that was actually this year. And what we hear from the US NFR event that was taking place this January, this was only agents talk. For me, it was a little bit disappointing. For you, you were satisfied with the outcome with AI.
Maybe my ambitions were not that high. Let's say that. But I heard the agentic AI discussion. I heard it several times. Heard it from the purchasing part, but also heard it from the operational part. So it's there. I think that what we see now is a lot of AI is actually being embedded. We don't have to talk about it in that sense that there's a lot of the players, and I know that we are doing quite a lot as well with AI already. And it's becoming embedded in the things that we do. And I think that we all want to be good at what we're doing before we push the next button. And I think that the next button is going to be the agentic AI, and it takes some time to understand how to work on it. And if I see some of the things that's happening in US right now, I think that today I saw how you order the food on DoorDash and things just with ChatGPT, something that couldn't be done before, but now can be done completely by just saying, okay, fine, I would like to have half a chicken, blah blah blah, and then the order comes. And this is something that goes very very fast in US, and of course it will hit us in the rest of Europe, but it's not there yet, but we will see it faster. When you talk to the startup environment, you hear more about it than you hear from the carriers. I think we are a little bit slow, and it's also quite transformative in the way we are thinking. It will have an impact on the way that we are addressing the market and the way that we see ourselves as players in the middle of this process. And I think that I had a talk in February where I tried to see what kind of consequences it would mean for us as carriers, and it's actually going to be quite substantial. So we're gonna have to work a lot about our documentation on how we do our process and where we fail and where we don't fail, and how our returns are being monitored. I think that we're gonna have to provide much more documentation of our processes, because in the future we're gonna negotiate with an agent.
This is one interesting thing, because I think we are facing here architectural and IT architectural problem, because so far at least logistics companies have been storing the data to databases, and it has been database systems, but AI is not so much a tool to use with databases, but the plain text version. So I think that we need to make a task to make all our company knowledge AI readable, so that it will be easy for them, and it's the first task. But I agree with you. I think that last year was a sort of hype about AI. Now everybody is having their own projects ongoing, and probably or hopefully this year we are going to see the launches of those. But what about the other thing? This is your specialty, and you have been developing a lot of computer vision technology, because I feel that you are doing the exact right thing, because logistics is a lot about visual verification and visual counting and understanding of that. How you are doing on that end?
Yeah, I have to come back to you and say that data is still extremely valuable.
It is. It is.
I think that we are luckily organizations which are capturing enormous amount of data. So, and that is also making sure that the data that we are missing, and this is what I use computer vision for, or we do in our organization, is actually as a supplement to the data that we are generating, and trying to get that blue ocean of data which nobody have seen before. And this is what we try to do. We try to capture data that we haven't captured before. It can be with computer vision, but it can also be with RTLS technologies, which is sensor technologies. And now you can put them on top of each other, and suddenly you can see things that you never saw before. And I think that the thing that is striking me now is that we have talked a lot about going towards orchestration. I think that we will have a better possibility to actually make orchestrations in the future, because we can actually combine the data with two things. One of them is actually we can make them rule based, which means that we have to understand ourselves and define some rules and what we're going to do when we see things like that. But over time, we will take that amount of data and we will make it agentic. So we will have it speaking to us and saying, we recommend, Christian, that you do this and this, because we can see the data is moving you towards that. You can maybe be half an hour earlier finished, and you can change the cutoff times of the truck, so you can do whatever. And this is going to be something where you actually speak to it. And I think that we saw a presentation which I found was really, really good, was from PTV Logistics, on how you actually on the design of your network just was speaking to an agent and making your requirements, and it actually came back to and say, okay, fine, I recommend that you do this and this and this. And I thought that was actually a really, really interesting aspect to see brought into our organization. But I saw it also from other providers who was there, that this is actually, when you look into the core technologies, there we already have these providers who are that step ahead of others, because they built it AI mindset already for years. And I think that's gonna be a huge game changer for all of us. For me, it's I don't mind taking products instead of developing it myself. I have to say that. That's the first thing we look for.
And what about the last big area of improvement that has been also in our discussions always, and this is robotics and automation. Just few days ago, I think Amazon was acquiring a river that is the dog likes robot producer to deliver parcels from the vehicle to the doorstep. So we are closer and closer to the dream we had a few years ago, that the parcel will be delivered without the human hand touching it from the shipper to the customer.
I think, Andre, if I look pretty deep, I would probably find that operation already feasible in China today. And when you say that Amazon is buying, this is the thing that we feel a little bit in our organization, is that that there are companies out there that are so big that they just take products out of the market. We've seen it before with Amazon, that they took Covariant out of the market, which actually was probably the best AI vision solution that was there for picking. But this is things that's going to happen. That either you purchase the first 2 years of production in order to make sure that nobody else can follow you for 2 years, or you do other things. But there are so many interesting products and so much development happening right now, that we will see things the next year, I can promise, that we hardly believed, that we thought that it's going to take maybe 2, 3, 4 years to do. And I think also today we saw leaders in logistics. If we went and talked to the small startups and these things, they have actually brilliant ideas. And I liked some of the things that we saw, and I already engaged with some of the things that we saw there when it comes to the physical AI, so to speak. That is moving extremely fast. And I just love seeing these videos coming out of China, what kind of possibilities they have. And of course, we can't move everything into Europe yet, because we have other constraints in how we implement these things, but things are going fast right now, really fast. So I think that we will see some of these physical things maybe at our next leaders in logistics. We've seen the small clumsy humanoids, but if you see what happened to them in 1 year, you would be quite amazed. So yes, and Hyundai and Boston Dynamics is going to produce 30,000 of workers a year now from one of their factories. Yeah, that's going to be a game changer also.
There is a game going on in every event where you and I are participating. Then usually there comes up the question, who has been longer in the last mile industry than Christian Oestergaard? And usually there's nobody. But asking from your experience, in a scale of 1 to 10, we are in the midst of changes, and probably we haven't seen it in last 30 years. This change pattern, in a scale of 1 to 10, what do you think? What is the value that our industry is already changed and is changing in upcoming years? So how much the postal companies and carriers have to change their operation in upcoming years?
it all comes back to the cash. It all comes back to the investments. And now maybe a lot of you locker people are getting a little bit sad when I say this, but we are already implementing a solution. The lockers are actually history. If you look at it it's a network that probably when I talk to the vendors, they expect that these will be standing there and they will be functional, let's say the next 10, 15 years. But the solution is actually quite FTE heavy. You have to put the parcels on the shelves. And I think that it's not gonna, now it's a fight about locations. It's a fight about proximity and all these things. But when you roll back in 5 years, and you will probably ask, why did we do it like that? Because now we need to have so many FTEs to run around and fill these lockers. Yes, we can do it pretty fast, but it's still FTE heavy. When I looked at robot lockers back 3, 4, 5 years ago with some of your Estonian companies, Cleveron, it was the loading time was 18 seconds or something like that. If it had been 5 or 8, we would probably see them instead. And I think that if you look at the way that you produce a locker, it's an infrastructure. So you make an investment. The reason that they are light and small today is the proximity and is that you can move them if they're wrong. But if you look at it from a network perspective, it's an old technology. We call them automatic lockers, but where's the automatic? There's not much in it. So I think that we have to really be careful when we push the button of investment, because the thing is, if I look into our sorters, today, and how we build our terminals today, I'm sure that if we didn't have the legacy, they would be different. They would be much different than we are building still today. And we're all building more or less the same type of legacy terminals in the way that we are sorting. So I think that if I heard also that Amazon have 1.5 million robots today. We will see the robots coming, and we will also have to rethink how we build our infrastructure. But it will not come from the old European carriers. I don't think so. I don't think we don't have the investments for it. But we will see somebody will come in and have a different take on it. But as you say, that the most expensive thing here is the proximity, because you need to put a lot of steel out very close to your end consumers, because that is the new convenience that we have. It is that way. I'm little bit. I think that depends on how many years you give me. Then I would say we are in 2 or 3.
But my take on that is actually there's one thing I don't know, and there is one thing. The one thing is that we don't talk about that much, and this is the number of parcels to be delivered per household per year per country. We don't talk about that much, but now my thesis is that so far we have been enough amount that this is the amount is most effective to be delivered through parcel lockers, because it needs some kind of middle consolidation. Now, let's assume that this amount will double, triple, 4 times. Then this is not anymore the way to manage, and then the home delivery might come back. But the only thing is that we have to automate this last yard delivery. It can't be done with FTEs. So I think that for the next 10 years, parcel lockers are quite a safe bet. What happens after that?
Yeah.
I'm not so sure anymore.
Yeah, but you know that the lockers will stand there probably 15, 17 years. Because it is an infrastructure. It's an infrastructure that you invested in. Just to take it as a sunk cost and say, okay, fine, we skip it. That had also some consequences. So it's we will see what happens. I'm always saying that now we are trying to close the door to China a little bit, by putting blockers, tariffs or whatever. But then we open the door for India, and I think that when I'm in India, I can get the same products as I get in China. So I think that we will see, if some smart people are thinking about this, then we will see a lot of other products coming in, which is gonna again fill our boxes. And my experience with also with Indian products, they are pretty good quality for being quite cheap. And Modi said that they want to be a manufacturing country, not just a service country. So I guess that we will see some inflows coming now from that part, which is gonna fill our lockers again. And as you say, there is a capacity problem with our lockers, and then we can go back to the discussions about the agnostic and carrier. So there's gonna be bound for being a lot of discussions also between you and me in the future on what's gonna happen and how it's gonna happen and when it's gonna happen and these things.
Okay, Christian, thank you. I can assure that we talked before the recording already 45 minutes, and we will probably talk 1 hour more after the recording.
Yeah.
But it was pleasure talking to you as always, and hopefully we shared some new knowledge that is useful for somebody, because this is the reason why we are talking about that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, and see you in next event.